Can a man still ejaculate after a vasectomy? The fluid is still there, but soon you'll understand why the path changes, and that's where the secret lies. Many men actually want to undergo a vasectomy, but back out after hearing mixed stories about lost ejaculation or decreased libido. This anxiety arises even before they seek accurate medical information. According to Mayo Clinic data, 1 in 3 men who considered a vasectomy eventually backed out due to such myths, not because of the procedure itself. Imagine, an important decision about reproductive health can crumble just because of rumors that may not be true. In fact, a vasectomy doesn't touch areas that produce hormones or pleasure. Yet, the fear of the unknown often feels more daunting than the risk itself. As a result, many men live with the notion that a vasectomy makes them stop being a real man. Such anxiety can disrupt relationships with partners, create emotional distance, and, ironically, cause the primary goal of preventing pregnancy to fail. In reality, the medical risks of a vasectomy are very minimal. But in many people's minds, what emerges is the image of major surgery, scalpels, and loss of self-control. This is the gap between perception and fact. As long as this gap isn't bridged, fear will always be stronger than logic. So the question is, does a vasectomy really stop bodily functions, or are we just missing how it actually works? Many think a vasectomy stops everything, but the body continues to function normally. The only difference is the sperm's path is redirected. Fluid still comes out as usual, and soon you'll know why this is important. To clear up the myths, we'll discuss the 3 main pillars that make everything clearer. If fluid still comes out, then where does the sperm actually go? Does ejaculation stop completely after a vasectomy, or does the body still hold unseen secrets even though the sperm pathway is cut and many men don't know it? Imagine a water faucet. Even if the main source is shut off, water still flows from other tanks, and that's how ejaculatory fluid works. Medically, sperm is only 2 to 5% of the total volume, so fluid continues to be produced by the prostate, seminal vesicles, and bulbourethral glands without being affected. First, recognize that most of the fluid comes from these glands, not from sperm. Second, understand that orgasm is triggered by nerve and muscle contractions, so the feeling of climax doesn't depend on the amount of sperm. Third, to address the concern of feeling empty, it's important to realize that the body doesn't have sensors to detect the presence or absence of sperm, so the sensation never disappears. The sexual experience remains intact, unchanged, and that's the real proof that a vasectomy doesn't affect the feeling of climax. You now know that ejaculation still occurs and feels the same as before, so the sensation remains the same, only the pathway changes. Many men fear their libido will disappear after a vasectomy, as if hormones are immediately cut off too, when in reality, the body doesn't touch that part at all. I once met a patient who hesitated for months because he thought the procedure would change how his body reacted, spoke, or even felt sexual attraction. In fact, the testes continue to produce testosterone as usual, and that hormone goes directly into the bloodstream without needing to pass through the cut channel. 1. Deep voice, body hair, muscle mass, and erectile function all are still powered by testosterone, and a vasectomy doesn't interfere with that at all. 2. Libido doesn't change unless someone experiences stress or anxiety affecting their psychology. This isn't an effect of decreased hormones, but rather a misconception. 3. If still in doubt, testosterone levels can be checked with a simple blood test, and in almost all cases, the values remain stable even years after the procedure. Then comes the objection, but I heard someone say they felt completely weak. The answer is that weakness usually doesn't come from hormones, but from suggestion, because the brain already believes the body has changed. When this information is clarified, Many men actually report an increase in confidence because they feel free from anxiety about unwanted pregnancies. And the body responds to that because when the mind is calm, physical performance improves. So if hormones remain stable and the body is not disturbed, maybe the next question is not about the feeling, but about the procedure itself. But knowing that bodily functions remain normal is just one part, because for many men, the real challenge lies in the thought of the procedure. Many men imagine a vasectomy as a major surgery, a sterile room, sharp knives, total anesthesia, then days of lying in the hospital, when in fact, the method now is very different. I once met a 42-year-old man who almost backed out just because he was afraid he couldn't sit for a whole week. But in reality, he went home by himself the same day and was doing light work the next morning. Modern vasectomies use a non-scalpel technique, no knives, no stitches, just one small hole to cut the sperm pathway. The first step, the patient simply comes in conscious and receives local anesthesia around the scrotum without total anesthesia. Then the doctor makes a small hole the size of a pen tip and ties off the vas deferens with a special tool without touching other tissues. The final step, after 15 to 20 minutes, the patient can stand, sit, even walk as usual, and most go home immediately without hospitalization. A common objection is about pain, but most only feel mild soreness for 1 or 2 days, which can be managed with cold compresses or regular painkillers. In fact, many clinics report satisfaction rates of up to 98%, because patients find the procedure much simpler than they initially imagined. And when the body doesn't feel injured, the mind is also calm because control is not just about the physical, but also about feeling like a man free from worries. One of the frequently asked questions, what if the channel reconnects after being cut? This concern is understandable because there is indeed a rare condition called recanalization, where the vas deferens can rejoin. But this case is very rare, occurring in less than 1% of men, and can usually be detected early on. After a vasectomy, the doctor will schedule a follow-up examination called a sperm analysis to ensure there are no leaks. Even if there is still an open pathway, the procedure can be repeated with the same technique without additional risk. So you are not walking alone because your body will be monitored through data, not assumptions. And for many men, this certainty actually makes their decision feel even more solid. The accuracy of a vasectomy isn't just felt, it can be proven. You already know, fluid still flows, hormones remain stable, the procedure is simple, and even if recanalization occurs, it can be controlled from the start. This means a vasectomy isn't about cutting off function, but choosing a direction, consciously and deliberately. It's not about losing masculinity, but transforming into a man who knows his limits and chooses control. And once everything is clear, only one thing remains. Are you ready to be a man who takes responsibility for his own body's decisions? Doubt is normal, but calm decisions are born only from complete information, not whispers of fear. If you're still uncertain, I recommend consulting directly with a trusted urologist. Don't look for answers in forum chats or rumors, but in places that can provide clarity, not worry. If this video has opened a new perspective for you, click subscribe so you don't miss other discussions that are just as logical. Leave a comment if there's anything still bothering you. We'll discuss it in a friendly community with a cool head.